and the arrival of some new faces. The Greens now have their first MP. But the night was also mired in controversy after hundreds of people weren't allowed to cast their votes after polling stations closed at 10 o'clock. Ben Brown looks now at the night's events. Viewers are warned there is some flash photography in his report.
At many polling stations, like this one in Sheffield, there were queues around the block. Turnout was higher than expected. Too high, it seems, for some election officials who simply couldn't cope and locked out hundreds of furious voters when the ballot boxes closed.
It's terribly undemocratic. And I think everybody's very angry.
Hear, hear.
Yeah.
We can't get in to vote, and we feel scandalised by this.
It was the same story in parts of Leeds, London, Liverpool, Manchester and Newcastle, with voters turned away and the possibility of legal challenges in some seats.
Should have got more staff in, should have got it more prepared, more staff, should have done it properly, everything.
If you're trying to wash your hands of it.
People missed out their votes out there, it's totally wrong.
We're being disenfranchised and that's not on. This could make all the difference between somebody losing or winning.
In Sunderland, volunteers raced to count the ballots of those who had managed to vote.
And I hereby declare that Zac Goldsmith has been duly elected.
The night turned out to be a mixed one for the Tories. The millionaire, Zac Goldsmith, seized Richmond Park, but the Conservatives failed in other target seats like Westminster North, where Labour were cock-a-hoop. It all meant that when David Cameron attended his count in Witney, the most he could claim was that Labour had lost.
I believe it is already clear that the Labour government has lost its mandate to govern our country.
Labour lost some big names. The former Home Secretary Jackie Smith in Redditch. She paid the price for being mired in the expenses scandal. It was a hugely disappointing night too for the Liberal Democrats, the flamboyant Lembit Opik among their casualties. Other notable results were Caroline Lucas in Brighton, who becomes Britain's first Green MP, while the BNP leader Nick Griffin was comprehensively defeated in Barking and Dagenham. At the end of this cliffhanger of an election, Gordon Brown flew back from Scotland.
Hello, Prime Minister. Is it all finished?
Good evening. It's been a very long night. There's still a long way to go.
At dawn, he headed to Labour headquarters to greet party workers. He is still Prime Minister. He is still in power. But for how much longer? Ben Brown, BBC News.
And we are expecting Gordon Brown to walk into Downing Street shortly outside number 10. If he does, of course, we'll bring it straight to you. No party emerges with a clear majority. We will have a hung parliament, as we've been saying. The big question is which parties will be able to negotiate a deal to form a new government. Jeremy Vine has been number crunching with the projected results to see how the House of Commons might look. Here it is.
We'll start with Labour here. With their you can see the columns of MPs, 306 Conservative MPs there, the blue column, 261 Labour, and then the Lib Dems on 55, and the other parties, Northern Irish, Scottish, Welsh nationalists, the others and so on, much smaller numbers. So let's look first at this Labour column and just ask what happens if other parties support them. Let's take, for a start, the SDLP in Northern Ireland, who take the Labour whip, so we can put them happily in the Labour column, surely. 264 they're on now. You see the party join them at the bottom of the column. 264. Nowhere near the 326 they need for an overall majority. So you start looking around and you think, it's got to be, hasn't it, the Liberal Democrats. And notwithstanding what we've heard from Nick Clegg, let's just put the Liberal Democrats in the Labour column to make this point, that once that happens, they're on 319. 319, so they're still not on 326, even with the Liberal Democrats and the SDLP. And at that point, what do they need? Well, maybe they could say to themselves, Sinn Féin, the 4 Sinn Féin MPs don't tend to turn up at Westminster. They could do it with just a few, maybe a couple less than 326. Maybe they could bring in, this is a bit fantastical, bring in the Scottish nationalists as well, 6 of their MPs. Where are they then? 325. They've just about done it, but that looks like a pretty rocky coalition, not least because Nick Clegg has made it clear that his first thoughts are about the Conservatives because they've got the most votes and the most seats. So let's put them all back to where they were, and let's have a look at the Conservatives now. What can they do with this 306? They're not that far short, are they? They're over 300. They just need 20. They might start with the Democratic Unionists in Northern Ireland. 8 of those MPs, like-minded, surely wouldn't be a problem to bring them over into the Conservative column. They remain short. They're on 314, but they're getting closer. If they look across the other MPs here, the smaller groups of MPs, their eyes might alight on the others. Would that work? Well, one of them is an Alliance MP who took Peter Robinson's seat in Northern Ireland. She would be unlikely to join the Conservatives, more likely to join Labour. The second one, Sylvia Herman, now sitting as an independent unionist, has already turned down the chance of working with the Conservatives. So I don't think we can go to the others here. We may have to instead look again to the Liberal Democrats. It keeps coming back to the Liberal Democrats. The extraordinary paradox of this situation is that Nick Clegg has been pushed back in this election to 55 seats, but has ended up with more power. So once again, let's move the Liberal Democrats and see the effect of this. And now you see this blue column goes way above the 326 needed, 369.
Jeremy Vine there. We're just going to show you some pictures of Downing Street. We were expecting Prime Minister, yes, he's still Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, to come out and make a statement outside Downing Street. We're hearing now Number 10 saying that statement has been slightly delayed, so it will be within the next half hour. Of course, as soon as Mr Brown does come out of Number 10 to make that statement, we will bring it straight to you. Before that, we're going to get the latest from our correspondents around the UK. In a moment, we're going to be hearing from Lorna Gordon in Edinburgh and Colette Hume in Cardiff. First, let's speak to our Ireland correspondent, Mark Simpson. Mark joins us from Belfast.